Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Martin Ochwat, who is a growth marketer and serial entrepreneur. Martin, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Hey, so I love when we hear serial entrepreneur. That just means like it is just in your blood. You can't help yourself. So I know you've had quite the storied past building a seven-figure e-commerce business from the ground up and a lot of Silicon Valley experience. Give us just a little bit of your background, and then let's just dive right into digital marketing, what you see today on the landscape and what you see that we should be prepared for. I always like to think about, I think it was Gretzky that said, you skate where the puck is heading. Well, where do you feel the industry's heading so we can be prepared for it and not reacting to that?
Awesome. Sure. So I'll give you a bit of background first. In school, I studied mathematics, so I'm essentially a numbers guy. And I kind of stumbled my way into digital marketing at a job in Silicon Valley. So I started working at a gaming company called Machine Zone. At the time, they were really big on mobile apps, such as Game of War. You might have seen some of our ads with Kate Upton, for example. And while there, I ended up managing with my boss one of the largest Facebook ad budgets at the time. So we were spending close to $100 million a year alone just on Facebook ads. And that's where I really learned the ropes of digital marketing before jumping into starting my own businesses, doing sort of the same thing with a few e-commerce stores while being inspired by Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week. So I decided to work on building my own businesses while traveling the world and getting to experience a bit of that.
So $100 million is the jaw dropper, and I don't know the quick calculation down to what that is per day or week, but it's something like $2 million a week in that range. I'm sure that you guys were calculating all the way through ROI, or else why are we going to dump that kind of money in there? But then I also know from your bio that you created a model or an algorithm and have a patent on that on strategically making those ad purchases. How did that come about?
Yeah, so it really started with having a great product. At the time when we were promoting the games, users were really engaged. They're spending a lot of money in the game. And what that meant is we had a really high lifetime value. So the value that a user would spend in the game over their lives was really high. And that allowed us to run a large budget to acquire new users. And so it just came about with a lot of digital marketing. You have to think of it as investing. So let's say you're investing $1 into Facebook ads. You expect a return of maybe $2 or $3 for every dollar you invest. And so we just kept investing money as long as we were seeing returns, and that sort of scaled us up to $100 million a year. With that come its own challenges, of course. I mean, with a 2-person team, you're working like night and day, weekends, like 14-hour days just to try and manage everything going smoothly. So, I was able to convince my boss to get some help from engineers. So we got an engineer and 2 machine learning engineers on board, and we were able to build out models that would help automate a lot of the ad buying process, whether that's coming up with how do you find the optimal image to show each type of person and what is each user worth to us that we acquire through Facebook. And through a lot of automation, we were able to manage most of that budget, like just using scripts. And now my team owns a patent on that media buying process.
So one thing that I think is interesting that you said is they bought so much in the game. So the lifetime value was high enough that you could justify the cost of acquisition. Do you remember whether the cost of acquisition was a break even initially, or were you actually in the hole? So if it, if it cost you $1 to get a customer, were you getting 75 cents initially from the game and then hoping that they would spend more money in the game, or how did that look?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I can't give out any specifics on what the lifetime value was, but commonly in the industry, a lot of the times when you're buying ads, it's not profitable on day one. So you might spend $10 to acquire a user and you only get back $1 or $2 on day one. But the idea is you want to try to hit a break-even point. So let's say you might decide that I want to break even within 3 months of my investment, and then any money you make after 3 months is just like gravy on top. And so ourselves and a lot of buyers in the industry run off this model where you choose a break-even point and you could spend money on ads up until that point where you're comfortable to recoup your costs.
Yeah. I think that's a missed opportunity for a lot of marketers. They don't take in the lifetime value, and they also, at the same breath, don't focus on that enough and hope that it just happens on its own. Meaning this, sometimes the best marketing is a spectacular product and spectacular user experience and delivery of that product. So, you could have, like in this example, a game, and you could have your users where you are spending your money and maybe it's an initial close to break even, and that's wonderful. You think that you've won the lottery at that point. But in reality, if you're not focusing on listening to the customers that are using the games and going, wow, I wish it had, or this is awesome because, now you are missing out on the opportunity to really polish up and fine tune that, and then dive in and just really make that customer lifetime value grow. Have you found that in digital marketing that's pretty common, where people just hope lifetime value will take on a life of its own and don't really focus on that?
Yeah, so I think it's one area that's not focused on enough. So there's really two parts to it. The first part you mentioned is I think a lot of marketers and business owners are conservative when they're spending ads. They want to see that return on day one. But one of the most famous companies, Amazon, they keep spending on as long as they're break even throughout their whole lives, right? Like they spent the first decade of their company not making a profit. But the reason for that is they were able to reinvest that money into building the lifetime value of their users and also acquiring users through marketing. And so that leads to the second part of always trying to grow your lifetime value. Once you have users, how can you keep them engaged? How can you keep them coming back to your business to buy more of your products and services? And really by focusing on building your lifetime value, that lets you spend more money on your marketing, which just continues to fuel your business.
We could go on for hours on end on that one point, but I want to go back over to your predictive model, and I know that's from the buyer standpoint, like the brand buying the ads. Flip it around a little bit and talk about what that model predicts from the consumer buying process side of things, meaning what is the consumer seeing in a certain ad campaign that they liked or didn't like that you were trying to model?
Yeah. So really it breaks down really well to a basic level. Say, for example, I might be a male age, 25 to 30 that's really into gaming and living in the United States. There's certain types of images or videos that might resonate more with me compared to a different demographic. And one way we would look at that is by essentially testing a lot of different creatives against a certain audience. So say, for example, you could show me ads of, a gamer playing a game. You could show me ads of like tanks or some sort of war scene, or you could show me ads of, maybe a celebrity endorsing the game. And I might resonate, like different ads will resonate differently with me. So really we would try to find for this particular audience what creative resonates with them. And after testing several images and videos, we find one that works, and then we continue to refine it. How do we create more content like that really resonates with this type of user? And you can really scale this up across lots of different audiences just to find what works best for different types of people.
And the beautiful part, and I know we're not even talking about AI, but that, you could continue working 14, 16 hours a day, 8 days a week, and still not be able to execute as much effectively as a good algorithm or a program could.
Yeah, that's correct. Luckily, today in 2019, a lot of the features we were building, a few years ago already exist for ad buyers on, say, Facebook and different platforms. So as an example, Facebook ads now has a feature where you can upload an audience of people, upload 10 different images, and Facebook will decide which one is the best image to run for that audience of people. So using a lot of tools that exist today, you're able to save a lot of time, and without having to build all these models, you can still see really good results.
So we've been talking about digital marketing as it relates to Facebook ads. What do you think is a typical business owner, entrepreneur, one of the most common mistakes you see that they make when they go, I'm going to dip my toe in the water into digital marketing and I need to do this? What are they doing and what are they doing wrong?
Yeah, great question. So there's, I think with learning digital marketing, for one thing, it's hard to learn without actually doing it. Like, you can read guides all day, but until you're actually launching ads yourself, that's when the learning begins. And oftentimes, you're not going to have the best results on day one. What's really important for anyone starting out is to just do a lot of testing. And by testing, I mean generate, say, 20 plus audiences of people that might like your product. And just think about, like, who are these people? As an example, I'm launching a new brand called Moop, where we sell zero plastic waste personal care products. So we're looking at different audiences that might resonate with this. Let's say people who are vegan, people that are into, like, earth-friendly initiatives. And so we'll generate a list of these audiences and then generate a lot of creatives, so images, videos, infographics, whatever it is that might resonate with them. And it's really just testing. Your results aren't often the best on day one, but if you continue testing to narrow down on your ideal audience of customers and your ideal creatives, that's when you'll really start to see results.
I think that's so easy to say, like zero in on and track, but what are you finding that business owners or entrepreneurs are using to do that tracking? Like, for instance, are we literally talking about a Excel file, and what are you tracking? How are you making sure that the right things are tracked so that it doesn't consume you and you get upside down your campaign?
Yeah, great question. So with many ad platforms, let's say Facebook, for example, they have pixels, and a pixel is essentially a piece of tracking code you can install on your website. If you have a mobile app, you can install their SDK, and that will help you measure how are people coming from Facebook onto your website and how are they behaving. So let's say I'm running an ad for, I'm selling like a shampoo bar product. I might see that people are coming from Facebook, and I can see all this data in Facebook Analytics, which is a dashboard they have. And then if I have the pixel installed on my website, I could see if they added that shampoo to cart, if they made a purchase, and if they made a follow-up purchase. So by installing tracking codes, you can have all of the data, the full view from the top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel. And usually I like to supplement this as well by having Google Analytics, just so you can have a second data set to verify things. And that's data that you own internally, so you can see how people are performing on your website.
Yeah, and I think you just need to, as a CEO or the owner, need to know that needs to happen. You need to understand why it should happen, and then have people that have it set up to report over to you, so that in once a week or whatever time frame, you get that one-page look at here's the analytics and what tweaks or adjustments should we make. Because to your point about lifetime value, what is that threshold? Where's our kind of comfort level at expanding to the limit, and we don't want to go past this, and then if you're noticing that you're right at that ceiling and you're still not getting that lifetime value, what are some things you can get another team on, where it's like, let's just dive in deep and ask our customers, our last whatever 50, 100 customers, what did you like, what do you not like, what can we do, and maybe start tweaking that, because now with the same ad spend and same response, hopefully then that lifetime value amps up, and then it makes that campaign work all the more better. And a lot of times people feel like just dump more money and get more sales, but you're missing out on some of those opportunities. Have you seen that as well?
Totally, yeah. I've seen it's very easy to focus on top of the funnel and just how do you get more and more users to your website and your business pages. But if you can focus on the full funnel and optimizing each step, whether it's improving your ads, improving your ad landing pages so that more people are converting, then you're just adding fuel to the fire, and that's really where you're going to see stronger results for your business.
Yeah, agreed. Hey, let's kind of shift gears and roll into what do you see in the future? What are you seeing digital marketing moving toward in the future, and how can entrepreneurs prepare for that?
Yeah. So I know we talked a lot about digital ads today, but I think there's two main areas we're going to see a lot of investment in the future, and those are video and content. So starting with video, attention spans are getting shorter online. Video is one way that you can engage customers and build a sense of connection with them that you just can't with images or blog posts. Videos are also great in that they can often be, like, let's say you make a 1 to 2 minute video, you can often cut it up into shorter clips. You can transcribe it into a blog post. You can turn it into a podcast. So there's a lot of ways where you can slice and dice a video to create many pieces of content out of one single piece of content. And then on the community side, I think as we're living in an age where digital ad costs are starting to rise, if you can really build a community of passionate and loyal followers for your business or brand, that's one way you can own your customers and have them coming back, and that will drive your customer loyalty and ultimately your lifetime value.
Yeah, again, we could spend about 4 hours on engagement. What do you think is one tip that someone could implement to amp up the engagement they have in their community? Because the worst thing in the world is to go, hey, look at our new this, or hey, check out our new that article, blah, whatever, and get nothing. Or hey, what do you guys think about whatever topic? Go, and you get one comment and 14 likes, and it's like that's not engagement. We need engagement to be vibrant, to learn from, to expand our reach. What are some things that people can consider in that realm?
Yeah, so with engagement in your community, often it starts with providing pieces of content that add value to the user besides your business. So let's say, again, you're in the zero waste niche where people are focusing on the environment. You could share helpful tips of how to reduce, plastic waste in your day-to-day life. You can share recent news. You can try to bring in experts or interviews others that are experts in the space and share that with your community. And then I think the second thing you can do is reward users who are really loyal to you. And this can come through a referral program or some sort of membership and loyalty rewards, where the more they continue to engage and purchase your products or services, the better they're rewarded with whether that's discounts, exclusive access to events or exclusive groups, or even just recognition. If you can show your customers that you really care about them, they're much more likely to be engaged and stay with you for the long term.
Yeah, I mean, and that recognition is a big thing that gets back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where, sometimes people don't want this, they might want that, and recognition, achievement is some of those pieces to keep in mind. Hey, all great stuff, Martin. Thank you so much for your time today. What's the best way that people can reach out and connect with you?
Sure. If you want to learn any more digital marketing tips, check out my website, martinochwat.com. I'm also active sharing things on Twitter and LinkedIn. So shoot me a message anytime if you have any questions, and we can always talk.
Perfect. Well, Martin, thanks again for coming on. Loved chatting with you about some of the high-level digital marketing activities that we can expect in years to come. Thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Mike.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.